This is Performance Anxiety, and I'm your host, Mark. And today's guests make me rethink the saying, don't meet your idols. I'm joined by Tom Flynn and Mia Dean of Antler family. Tom's extensive musical career features bands like Fang and Cornelius Asperger and the Bicurious Unicorns. Mia is operatically trained and spent time studying opera in Austria and Italy. She was a huge fan of Tom's music and jumped at the opportunity to play with one of her idols. But before all that, Tom reveals an early love of hard rock and prog before starting Fang, his roles with the Melvins, and selling his leftover shirts to a band with the same name. Mia tells how she decided to sing opera at the age of 18, how she started a punk rock venue/opera house, and how she met her husband and bandmate Tom Dean. Antler Family's debut album came out early this year after a 5-year delay. It's like if Crazy Horse played punk rock. There are so many surprises in there. Tom and Mia reveal a few alternate band names, and I reveal the YouTube typo that completely changes the meaning of one of their songs. Pick up the album wherever you get music, except Amazon. Maybe try Bandcamp or midheaven.com if you like vinyl. Follow their socials at Antler_family. Follow the show at Performance ANX. Slide us a coffee at ko-fi.com/performanceanxiety. And you can buy merch at performanceanx.threadless.com. And check out Mia Dean and Tom Flynn of Antler Family on Performance Anxiety on the Pantheon Podcast Network.
Well, can we do it a few times?
You can do it as many times as you want. Well, see, we've been recording for 35 minutes. We could do a whole nother 35 of you guys just doing it.
I'm Tom Flynn.
And I'm Mia Dean.
From Antler Family.
And you're listening to Performance Anxiety.
That was good.
But we want bad, right?
Well, yeah. Okay, yeah.
He's Tom Flynn.
And she, Mia Dean.
And we're Antler Families, half of it. And you are listening to
Performance
Anxiety.
Oh, it was terrible.
We tried.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh, excellent. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. I'm really excited about this.
What's your name?
My name's Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Nice to meet you guys.
I could see that. You too.
We're ready to go all night, man.
All right. I can tell. So the way I like to get into things is to find out how you guys got into music in the first place. You know, was it big in the family? Is it something that you got into on your own? Were music lessons foisted upon you as a child? Tom, why don't we start off with you? How did you get into music initially?
It definitely wasn't through my family. It was just, it just seemed natural that everyone was into rock music. And, it just seemed like, of course I'd want to be doing that. That's like what everyone would want to do, I thought. It was just a friend of mine started playing drums, and I think when I was like in 7th grade, and he suggested I play with him, and that was the first time I'd thought about it. And I was like, yeah, that would be great. I mean, I never even knew that was an option, but just, yeah, that sounds like great. And so then, after a couple of years, I bought a guitar and just been playing since.
So was that early stuff? Was that the Tapeworm stuff that came out, or was it even before that?
Well, it was with the same guy. That was the guy that I was in Tapeworm with, but this was a few years before that. But it was, I started playing with him and another guy from school, and I guess 9th grade, and then Tapeworm started when I was in 11th grade. And
Man.
Yeah, it just seemed like, who would want to do this to me? I mean, I don't know.
So what were you listening to? Because, I mean, you were a foundational member of the legendary punk band Fang, but so you guys were breaking ground. What were you listening to
Well, when I first started playing, I was listening to, progressive rock. It was, Led Zeppelin, Aerosmith, Yes, things like that. And then I guess when I started reading about punk rock in magazines, this would have been 76, 77. And so I hadn't really heard it because they didn't play it on the radio, or, it was hard to find. And finally, when I experienced it, and heard it, then I, pretty soon got into doing that.
Was that the similar reason for starting Boner Records, is to get your own stuff out?
That was a few years later. That was after I moved to California.
Oh, okay, and right.
After I started the band Fang, it was just a way to release the Fang record, and I didn't really think it would be a record company. I just thought we were just trying to get our first record out. And I just kind of enjoyed it, and I could do it, and, just kept it going from there.
Well, I remember the very first time I ever heard of Fang was the song everybody knows, The Money Will Roll Right In, but the Mudhoney version. A buddy of mine had that, and I was just like, this is so cool. And I had to go and find out more about the band that actually wrote the song. So I'm glad I did.
I'm going to shield, and I'll just sit and grin. The money will roll right in. And I would give
yeah. We met. I met those guys, the guys in Mudhoney, when they were still in Green River, because we played with them up in Seattle.
Oh, okay.
So they already knew. Actually, we played with their band before Green River, which was Mr. Epp. The first time we went to Seattle, we played with Mr. Epp.
Oh, wow.
Mark and Steve were in that band too. And so they know all about us.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Before you skip over this ad, give me 1 minute. Like most podcasts, I pick sponsors carefully, and I use the products that advertise here. Pure Spectrum CBD is a product that has been really beneficial for me. They have a wide variety of great products that can be used on a daily or as needed basis. I've been using the tincture every day, and it's been wonderful for easing anxiety. And I absolutely love the isolate. I use it instead of acetaminophen or ibuprofen, and it's worked so well for the relief of aches and pains. They also have soaks, lotions, salves, gummies, and more, plus an entire line for fitness recovery. They even have products for your pets. See everything they offer at purespectrumcbd.com. And if you have questions, they're there to help. They helped me when I had no idea where to start. After you fill your cart, use code PERFORMANCEANX for 15% off your purchase. Pure Spectrum CBD, Pure Spectrum CBD, Pure Spectrum CBD. Yeah, now, how did you get into music? Because you've got a little bit of a different background as far as training and what you've done. You're operatically trained. How did you get into that? Or was that the first thing you got into musically?
No. Well, no. I was doing like a lot of musical theater when I was young. Okay. And I mean, my parents do have a story that I like to watch opera on public access television when I was super little, which was like nothing anyone in my family was into. And then I did a lot of acting and musical theater. But then as I got like maybe around 13, I was listening to punk rock and like UK modern rock. And then, so then I kind of became like a little punk rock teenager for a while. And so I was doing that. I kind of wanted to have a band, and I like kind of messed around like having bands in high school, but they would usually only last about 2 weeks and nothing happened again. So when I was like almost 18, I decided that I needed to like get my act together, and I decided that I was going to sing opera. All of a sudden, I just was like, I wanted to like be the fanciest thing I could think of. And so I like dyed my hair back from like bleached blonde to like normal color, and like started taking some voice lessons and like changed my whole look. And then I went and studied overseas a couple summers and in Austria and Italy. And that was pretty cool, actually. It was like I got to learn a lot about music, and, I started like majoring in opera performance and music in college. And then I trained with this like old famous mezzo soprano from the Metropolitan Opera from like the 40s. And she was like this old, great diva with pictures of herself all over the lobby, like performing when she was young. And it was this incredible experience. And then, I don't know, in my like mid 20s, I just got really tired of people telling me like how and what to sing. And I
was coming back out in you.
Yeah. I was like, I can't do this. And I decided at that point, I like took my dad's electric guitar and moved to San Francisco from Marin County and like started learning to play guitar and started like trying to write songs. And it took me like a long time before I wrote a good one. So, but that was, that was a long time ago. So, yeah.
Whenever I've heard of people who are operatically trained, it's more of, yes, my parents made me do it back when I was a little kid, and then I got it. I had to kind of stayed into it. I haven't heard too many people think, yeah, I just chose it on my own.
It's funny because my parents hated it. My dad, I came back after studying in Austria and was like staying at my dad's, and there was like this commercial on TV where it was like a car commercial. You probably saw it, where they had an opera singer and they would open the doors and then she'd be singing and they would close the doors and you couldn't hear her.
Yeah,
and
I remember that.
My dad would go, "We need to buy me a Lexus." So no.
Wow. So, all right. So Tom, you've had quite a long history in punk rock and music in general. You've been in some interesting bands, Cornelius Asperger and the Bi-Curious Unicorns. Which is right up there for one of my favorite names ever. Obviously, Fang, duh, which I understand there's a your duh and then an imposter duh.
Yeah, there was our duh, and then when we broke up, someone decided to start their own band, and our singer just suggested they call it duh just for the hell of it, and they ran with it. They released an album and everything, so
Now, is it true you sold them your leftover T-shirts?
Yeah. Yeah, so we had leftover because we went to Europe and we had a lot of shirts that we brought back that didn't, because we sold a bunch, but we made so many. And so I had all these shirts sitting around, and this guy, I think he wanted to get the screen, first of all, just to make shirts. And I was like, well, I got all these shirts and you can just buy them from me and everyone will be happy.
That's like a case scenario.
It's good for you. It's good for me.
Man, that's awesome. And we don't have to get into too much, but you also have a pretty storied past with the Melvins.
Yeah, well, I released just 3 or 4 of their albums and a bunch of EPs, and one year through all of about 1990, their bass player couldn't tour with them, so I went on a few different tours, two main U.S. tours, and then a few kind of West Coast type of things. So ended up being maybe 100 shows or so over the year.
Wow! Oh, that's awesome. And you also put out the legendary Lysol album.
Yes, I put out the Lysol album. Yeah, that was it was a great album, but it was a hard experience.
Yeah, I mean, and that's out in a whole bunch of other podcasts, so we don't have to go too deeply into that because I'm sure you're probably tired of telling that story. So I recommend everybody go hunt out that story because it is really wild. In fact, I've had Buzz and Dale on the podcast, and I'm trying to remember if they may have actually told that story too. So go back and check my podcast out.
Performance anxiety.
Exactly. So how did the two of you end up meeting?
We met, my husband and I ran the Oakland Metro venue.
Okay, so that is another question. Before we get into how the two of you met, how do you start an opera house? Because that is fascinating to me.
Well, it was an opera house and like punk rock venue, and it's a pretty grimy opera house. But so when I was in Austria, I kind of met my husband when I came back because his girlfriend at the time was the choreographer at the place I was studying and singing. And so when I came back, I was living like over the bridge, and I was asked to come and sing for his opera company. So he had this opera company here in the East Bay. And so that was like in 94.
Okay.
And, but being from Marin, there's kind of like this really big stigma about the East Bay being scary and complicated. And so I kind of got intimidated halfway on the drive and turned around and went home. And so
I never heard this story at all. So this is great.
I was 18. And but I did meet him at a dance performance for her in South San Francisco. And then after that, I was supposed to come. And so when I moved to the East Bay, I was bartending down the street from the original opera house that had opened like a year before.
Okay.
And somebody came in to my work and said, "Oh, hey, we have a big Alkaline Trio show in a couple days. Will you come and work? Because we need extra bartenders." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I went to the Metro, and I saw Tom, and I kind of recognized him. And the whole opera, I heard about the opera thing, and I was like, this must be this guy, that I met.
Right.
And so I asked him, like, "Hey, did you used to have a girlfriend named blah, blah, blah?" And,
Name redacted.
And he was like, he said, "Yeah." And I said, "I'm Mia." And he said, "You flaked on me."
Ah.
And I was like, "Oh, I've grown up a lot since then," which was a complete lie. But so then I worked there, and we ended up getting together, and then the opera house closed. So he had opened the first one. Then it got closed, and we had to move. So we actually opened 2 subsequent ones.
Oh, okay.
In 2007 and in 2000, 12, maybe 13. I can't remember. 14, maybe 14. Okay. And so how do you open an opera house? You rent a warehouse, and then you renovate it
You just call it an opera house.
Call it an opera house and paint it black. And then you go through all your city stuff, and then you perform some opera in it. And then also like a lot of punk and metal. And that is how you open our kind of opera house.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. I probably should have guessed that, but I like hearing the story anyway. So we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. So back to the original question: how did the two of you meet and start working together?
So he was playing in Fang again, and I was at work at the Metro. And, my husband, Tom, who's in the band also, has known this Tom forever. And so Fang came to play at the Metro one night, and it was packed. There were so many people there. And everybody in the room, like all the different like old school punks there that I know, and we're like, "Tom Flynn's here. Tom Flynn's here.
It's because I had quit the band in 1984, and this was like 20 years later.
Right.
So it was the first time I played with them again in 20 years or however many years it was.
But everyone was talking about it, like everybody.
Tom doesn't look like he's that impressed with the whole thing, but everybody else was.
That's kind of how it was. Yeah.
So I went up. I could hear, I'd seen Fang before without Tom, but this particular night, I like to go and watch people play guitar because I play guitar and I love it. And so I went up. I was like feeling impressed by what was happening on stage guitar wise. So I went and watched him, and I was like, "Dude, this guy is amazing. Like and I was like, I just want to play with him," which isn't, and I've watched a lot of people play guitar, and I never was like, "Oh, I want to play with him. I want to play with him." But I do remember thinking that night, and I just kind of whatever. Then we would run into each other at practice space down the street once in a while, and he just seemed very like elusive, but really he's pretty normal. Just
and then I guess I was playing with the old singer from Fang in that band, Cornelius Asperger, and when we broke up, when he quit, basically, I guess he told you I was available.
Yeah, well, he came to the Metro one night, and I think I was like complaining because I'd been playing with this other band, and it kind of wasn't working out. And I was like, oh, I just want to play with. I want to start. This is what I want to do. And he was like, oh, you should call Tom. And I was like, Tom Flynn? Yeah, okay. And then I'm like, done. I'll do it. So he came over, and I probably like giggled for like a year while we tried to learn songs.
I don't remember that.
But yeah, so that's how we started playing together. And then we like formed the band from there. We like started writing some songs back and forth and in my living room where we are right now. And then we pulled on Tom, and then we got Brad from the Unicorns.
Brad is our drummer now, and he was the drummer in the Cornelius Asperger and Bicurious Unicorns as well. So that's where and Tom is Mia's husband, and he plays the bass and keyboards.
Okay, so it's you guys and then Tom Dean and Stark Raving Brad.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like you guys kind of gelled pretty quickly then. I mean, I imagine Mia and Tom, her husband, gelled pretty quickly, that's for sure. But it sounds like everybody else kind of came into the band pretty quickly after the two of you wanted to work together.
It might have been like 6 months, maybe.
We
were looking for a drummer for a while.
We were looking for a drummer for a while, and then Brad came to my mind because I just been playing with him, so I don't know.
He was like,
but it was a sort of a slow, gradual. It was
so not fast at all then.
No, and it took forever to name the band like that. You should name a band with this guy sometime. It's hilarious, and everybody he's famous for it. Like,
So how did you guys all agree on Antler Family? Is there anything behind it?
The only thing we could agree on.
I don't even remember what the other options were. You had some.
There was Edna Weird. I was really into like Edna Weird. You were too. Wait, those were like the last two, but Brad was the deciding. Brad put in the final decision. We were
Mia had a lot of sort of gothy names that I didn't go for. Something I don't remember.
You should see your list.
Well, my list is sort of ridiculous.
We should do an episode on how to name a band.
It's like, I always say that, like, naming a band, it's like naming a child with 3 husbands. It's an almost impossible task.
Well, besides getting everybody to agree on something, you got to pick something that isn't the name of 3 other bands already.
Well, yeah, you come up with something good, and then you look it up online. It's like, oh, there's 5 bands that already have that name, and like.
Yeah.
Sometimes the web sucks.
Yeah. If we could just be ignorant of it, it would be great. We just have that.
I mean, I guarantee you, there's each coast. There's at least duplicates of 1,000 bands back before the internet, and nobody cared because nobody knew. What was the writing, or what is, I guess, the writing process for the band? Is there like a primary songwriter, or is everybody working together?
It's pretty much, we pretty much work together first, the 2 of us.
Okay. Yeah, well, Mia will come up with just sort of the basic music and the vocal part, and then I'll try to play something along with that, and maybe I'll add a middle part, I don't know, or sometimes I'll just have music that she'll just write the words, the lyrics to, and everything.
Okay, so it's mainly the 2 of you guys, though.
Mm-hmm. And then Brad and Tom Dean do their own parts.
Yeah, they will make up their own little parts to go along with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys come up with the bones of it, and they'll fill in with and kind of bring their own style to it then. Okay. Mm-hmm. This album has kind of been in the can for quite a while. When did you guys record it, and when was it actually initially ready to go?
We recorded it in 2019.
Okay.
We were like about to put it out. We kind of did an initial mix kind of right away, but then we kind of worked on it for a while, when we went into like do some overdubs here and there. Not very many, but a few. And then, so we were getting ready to master it when the pandemic hit. So,
okay. Oh,
yeah, sort of like we figured, well, we can't play live, and so it's like we're going to make this album, and we can't even doing, I don't know. So we never did anything with it. And then in the last year or whatever, we got it together.
I was curious because I was looking on YouTube and I saw some live clips from 2017. So I was like, oh, wow. How long has this thing been ready to go?
We hadn't recorded yet. I mean, we were definitely playing the songs for probably, year, almost 2 before we went into Earhammer to record with Greg. But yeah, it was definitely like a slow track. It was a slow track. I mean, honestly, I ended up thinking we were never going to put it out.
Well,
after,
yeah, I mean, COVID really put the kibosh on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's come out though, because it is such a fascinating listen. It's so wild. Because I'm somewhat familiar with Fang and some of the Tom's old stuff, and I went back and listened to Blood Moon Wedding, and it's not like any of that stuff. I listened, I'm like, where did this come from? Because it's kind of, I was trying. All right, so here's what I did. I listened to it a couple of times, and then I started to purposely just pay more attention to the lyrics and things, because I don't always pay attention to lyrics. I'm like, all right, I'm operatically trained. She's writing this, and it's so, the lyrics are like, I'm almost hesitant to say that they're darkly romantic.
Yeah. I feel that. I'm darkly romantic.
So, okay. But it's such I wasn't expecting that listening to the music, because the music it's raw, and it's not like punk like a Fang kind of punk, but it's got this, it's almost like if Crazy Horse was a punk band.
Yeah.
And to mix that with the really romantic lyrics that you've written, I was just like, this is so cool. This is just an intriguing combination. And I really like the songs The Widow's Call, Captive, and Bring Me Back My Love. But I think that's one of my top 2 on the album.
Can you feel it beat heart? Can you hear me breathe heart? Can you find my love heart? Can you feel my need heart? Pulsing in my bloodstream, feel the secret lingering. Can you find my love? Bring me back my love. Nothing here but shadows, climbing out the windows, hiding in the corner, right behind the door. Hovering the ceiling, hearing some.
My favorite, though, and I noticed something on YouTube with this. It's the I Don't Wanna and Black Hole Love.
Yeah.
That is my favorite.
I don't wanna break down. I don't wanna live without your touch. Give me your hands. I love so much. I don't wanna be alone. I don't wanna be alone. I don't wanna break down. Bring me home, and it's a long way, honey, but I'm coming home.
But speaking of darkly romantic, when I looked it up on YouTube, because I was streaming it on my phone the last couple days at work, and I noticed Black Hole Love has a typo, and it's Back Hole Love, which is a totally different kind of love.
On YouTube?
Yeah.
On our official YouTube?
Yeah, if you go and you type in
I'll go look at that.
Antler Family full album and you pull it up, it says I Don't Wanna / Back Hole Love. And I'm like, I had to go back to the email and look to make sure. You might want to keep it.
We're gonna leave it.
Yeah.
We're gonna leave it.
I mean, that's a different side of love, really. But
the back one.
yeah. But typo aside, that is my favorite song on the album. I can't even really describe why. It's just I think it's my favorite vocal performance by you on the album, and I think the music is just jagged enough. It's just a really fantastic mix.
It was really fun when we like figured out to put those two songs together, and like turned it into like one unit.
Yeah, they're both pretty minimal in a way of what they're just sort of like.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so being, I wanted to ask this question, but now that I've learned that you have more of a punk rock background, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But is it difficult sometimes to write music being operatically trained, or I guess maybe it's, do you approach the lyrics a different way since you've been trained in opera as opposed to being a punk rock singer?
I'm sure. I'm definitely. I mean, I've done things like worked on opera lyric, like librettos in opera. So I have, some experience writing, dramatic music with a story.
Right.
So, I definitely put a lot of thought into my lyric writing, whether or not I really fully grasp like what I'm trying to say. I try really hard to like look at music as a way of telling a story, and whatever that story that happens to come up at the time. Blood Moon Wedding is different because that one is more like an opera, because I got to write the whole, and that I got to write an entire story with like an arc. But with this album, it's like I'm kind of thinking about like each song as having that kind of an arc.
Oh yeah, so individual stories instead of a whole.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of punk rock is just often a lot of nonsense or just things put together, and sometimes that just doesn't work as well for me. Like I'm kind of more coming out of like a PJ Harvey school of songwriting, where you're like looking at it like a verse and a chorus and maybe a bridge and like a simple, like how can I take this and write like what's really at its core kind of a simple song, blow it up. So dynamite.
Yeah. So that's kind of, it sounds like that might be where the goth influence from your, well, that, I'm going to be redundant. It sounds kind of like where your goth influence comes in the band.
Yeah. Yeah. And the keyboards, the use of keyboards.
Okay. I'm glad you mentioned that, because one of the other real highlights for me, and something that I wasn't expecting, was King Tide.
Yeah.
With the gloomy piano in it.
Tell me your secrets, show me magic, I'll believe it. So warm and mysterious in this place. This soul, violet on the skin, dandelion.
Knowing a little bit about the past of punk rock, I was not expecting piano.
Yeah. That song is really interesting. Tom, that was one where Tom started it and like sent, he'll like play the entire guitar part through the whole song and like send it over and then come over here and teach me how to play it. And then we'll like try to figure out what to write. And that one was like the first one that we really in a lot of ways kind of sat in the house and kind of like rewrote it together. I
think. And then I don't remember if I suggested to Tom that the regular piano sound would be good on that, but he came up with a good, really cool piano part to go along with, because I just wrote it all on guitar, but then he wrote the whole piano intro on all that part that really made it cool.
And I read an article in the paper about the King Tide, which I'd never heard of before, which is like when the tide's the highest in the year. I've
never heard that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had just like read an article in the San Francisco Chronicle, and I was like, okay, I'm using this.
I've never before, but then since that song, I've seen it all the time, like King Tide and what's the opposite one?
I don't know.
Neep Tide.
What's the next song?
All right. So speaking of the next songs, have you guys been working on new music since this was recorded? Almost 5 years ago now. Yeah,
we have a lot of new songs actually.
Are they in a similar vein with the jagged guitar and with the operatic, very gothy, but not super heavy vocal, not screaming, yelling vocals.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think it definitely sounds like the second album. You know, we're kind of working on them between us since the record just came out. We're, you know, trying to focus on like relearning those songs and like playing them out. But also like Tom and I have been working on the new stuff here. But although we have played some of them with Tom and Brad also. But yeah, I mean, I think we have like 7 or 8 songs in it, and in like I definitely feel like it's like the next progression of the band, and it fits their right, you know.
Have you guys been playing out much since things opened up? And this album came out in January, if I remember correctly. Have you guys done a lot to support it as far as live shows?
No, not yet. I mean, we did.
We played one.
We played one.
We played one in October or November, and then we were supposed to play one in like 2 days from now, but it was canceled on us. So we're trying to figure out where we can get
soon.
something together.
We were gonna play with Torpedo from Switzerland on Saturday, but they couldn't get their visa, so
jeez.
So that, I don't know. We'll figure it out. But yes, we will. 'Cause coming soon.
The Antler Family Worldwide Tour. So, all right. Is it just Antler Family or is it the Antler Family? I'm trying to...
It's just Antler Family.
My notes. Okay.
Our email is the Antler Family because Antler Family was already taken.
What? Are you kidding? Oh my gosh. Jeez. So... what is the best way for people to find the album? I mean, is it streaming? Are there physical copies available?
Yeah, well, there's physical copies that are available in many places. There's midheaven.com, which is the Revolver USA mail order place, has them for sale, and they're also on our Bandcamp. So if you just go to the Antler Family Bandcamp, they're on there also. And if you want to spend a lot of money, they're on Amazon and a lot of other places too. But the price is really jacked up. So
really, oh.
I don't know why Amazon thinks it should be like $75. It's definitely, don't buy it there.
Wow, yeah, because you guys aren't seeing that price difference. That's somebody else getting that.
It's $25 from us. So.
Oh man.
But they look really nice. They're antler colored vinyl. You're gonna love it.
Oh, cool. So it's like a cream or bone. Oh, yeah. Wow, that is awesome. Well, guys, thank you for spending some time with me tonight. The album is so cool. I really got into it. I've been listening to it more and more over the past week in preparation for this, and it made me go back and listen to Fang again and listen to Blood Moon Wedding for the first time. I hate to admit because I was so blown away by that. So I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that more. But I cannot wait to see where this band goes because this first album is so interesting. Just the different sounds and I'm just excited to see where you guys take everything.
Thanks, Mark.
No, guys, seriously, thank you guys so much. When you do get out and play some, I hope you guys can come out to the East Coast because I would.
Where are you?
I'm just outside of DC.
Okay, so we gotta come there.
Yes, unless you guys.
Come.
Well, if
you got a couple friends that are coming too,
we'll stay at your house, right?
Hey.
Yeah, hey, no problem.
Cool.
We got
You can stay at ours too.
I got a futon. So
perfect. The four of us and our equipment appreciate it.
Hey, no problem, no problem. 2 of my 3 kids are out of the house, so we got plenty of room.
Mine are being so quiet. So I mean, that's the other thing. Like for years, we had like little kids running around while we practiced, like just tearing it up.
Wow.
You know?
Oh.
Now they're all a little bit bigger. I know. I made them be quiet for this interview, and somehow they did it.
It was meant to be. But I do a lot of concert photography, so if you guys do come out, I would love to come out and take some shots of the show and just experience Antler Family live because it's just I just enjoy the album so much. It's really,
we're loud. We're loud live.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, it's a date. We're coming for you.
Excellent. All right. I will we'll alert the press and we'll get some venues lined up for you. You can do a whole residency in DC.
Okay. It was so nice to meet you and out with you.